For more than 40 years now, Guy de Saint-Cyr has been exploring the world's volcanoes. This field volcanologist takes a group of amateurs as close as possible to volcanic activity. They're going to camp on the steep shores of Noragongo, the largest lava lake on the planet. The adventure will then continue on the summit of Langai, the sacred volcano of the Maasai, whose activity resembles that of no other volcano. Their first destination is the Democratic Republic of Congo in the central part of the Great African Rift, the huge fault line that cuts across the Earth's crust. Here, the Virunga volcanic chain runs for 60 miles and is made up of 8 large volcanoes, of which the most active is Noragongo. It stands at an altitude of 11,482 feet, barely 11 miles from the city of Goma. The 400,000 inhabitants of Goma live at the foot of this huge volcano that covers 135 square miles. In addition to a troubled geopolitical situation, Goma is under permanent threat from the huge Noragongo lava lake. The lake has already emptied twice in living memory, in 1977 and 2002, with numerous victims each time.
Look. Vegetation is already growing back on the 2002 flows. Is this from 77 or 2002? 2002 as well. Okay, we're at the foot of famous Noragongo, the volcano that's a myth for volcanologists all over the world. It's a special moment because there's only one lava lake like that. Only one. It's not a hike, it's truly an expedition, meaning there are risks. I'm aware that every time we get close to Noragongo, when we get near the lava lake, there's risk. The people I bring here are aware of it. I explain it to them, but even so, I hope I smile when we get back, because I don't often smile when we set out. On a volcano, we try to be as careful as we can, but we don't have any control. Don't overtake. We all go up at the same speed. We all stay together. There are odorless gases. It's carbon dioxide. It's very dangerous, lethal gas, so watch out. Don't stick your nose in small faults or cracks. Don't take shelter from the rain under a canopy. That's forbidden here. Be extra careful. The danger is real. Okay, if everyone agrees, we'll set out. Okay, Christian? Let's go.
These clouds of deadly gas present all around the volcano, including in Goma, are known here as mazuku, more or less the devil's breath. The volcano culminates at an altitude of 11,482 feet. Its slopes are very steep, and it's fairly hard to climb.
This is the most watched area at Noragongo. Why? Because we're at an altitude of 2,761 meters, meaning 40 meters above, more or less on a level with the first wafts of smoke. It's the level of the lava in the crater. Imagine that the lava in the crater now is at this level. If we dig a tunnel here, we'd reach the level of the lava lake.
This was the spot where a 10-mile fissure opened and ran all the way to Goma in 1977. More than 3.5 billion cubic feet of lava was spewed out. Lava fountains rose almost 1,000 feet in the air. Scraps of it still hang from the trees. Whole hillsides were blown apart by these fissions. The propagation of such an important fracture system within the space of a few hours was a phenomenon that had never been seen before. Nyiragongo, rearing up above the city, seemed peaceful up until that time, but caught everyone unawares.
It's been 6 hours. Yeah, 6 hours, but here's the reward. 3, 2, 1. Look! The most beautiful show on earth. Here it is. It's great.
They're about 2,000 feet above the lake.
Think about it. We're looking at the biggest lava lake on the planet here. The lava lake in Hawaii now, for example, is not even a quarter of that. Look, the fountain is starting up.
Of the 600 active volcanoes on our planet, there are only 4 permanent lava lakes. We know that Nyiragongo has existed since 1927 at least. It's probably much older than that, but up until that point, no one had actually ever seen the lava lake. Certain accounts describe a reddish glow at the western end of the Virunga chain, but gave no further details. Harun Tazieff was the one who made this volcano famous. No one had ever heard of it before he came along. Like others, Guy discovered Nyiragongo through Taziev's films.
The first expedition was Tazieff in 1958. He came here a lot. Tazieff is the only one who organized expeditions that went down to the edge of the lava lake. They were large-scale expeditions with heavy material. They had winches. They did trips over several weeks. Nyiragongo wasn't always a volcano with a lava lake. It's a stratovolcano, so when it was born, it was an explosive volcano. It was built up through explosions that ejected materials such as projectiles, ash, and lava. That was at the start of its formation, when the rift opened. We don't know how long this lava lake will last. Volcanology is a new science, and unfortunately, there are still many questions we can't answer. At about 5 or 10 meters above this level of the lake, there's a sort of small black beach. From time to time, the lake rises and spills over onto this beach. The last time I came, that's what was happening. The level varied 30 to 40 meters. If the lava lake rose, there would probably be seismic activity. What happens before a lava lake starts rising, and above all while it's rising, is that all the walls of the crater vibrate. The risk is always there. You have to keep it in mind, okay?
Guy is considering a 1,000-foot rappel into the crater, midway between the lake and the rim. But the conditions are not good. Too much gas, too much smoke, and highly unstable walls.
Most of all, you have to watch the blocks, which can be dislodged by the rope. So be very, very careful, especially since we can't see much. If blocks come down in there, we won't see a thing. Let's put on the gas masks now. I think there's going to be gas all along the descent, so it's best to put them on now.
Romain, a physical therapist back home, is a qualified climber. Guy decides to scout the terrain with him. The rest of the group waits anxiously for Guy and Romain to return. They've been gone for more than 3 hours. Lava lakes give off an obvious impression of power, a permanent enemy. The climb back up takes place in difficult conditions. Guy won't be able to descend into the crater with the group as he hoped.
So?
A lot of pebbles are falling. It's not safe for this group to go down. No, it's too bad. Don't move to your right. See it? Yeah.
The level of the lake can change suddenly, but it has never reached the peak of Nyiragongo. The cone gives way first, fissions, and lets the lava empty down its sides.
A lava lake is an open-air magma column that comes out of a magma reservoir. Here the reservoir is 15 kilometers deep, so you can imagine that there's a tube like that going down 15 kilometers.
In 1977, a huge eruption resulted in the lava lake emptying. The cone gave way beneath the pressure of the magma. The level of the lake at the time was up to the first terrace, 820 feet beneath the rim. The lake had attained an incredible volume.
When the lava lake reaches a volume and a weight that the crater walls can't take anymore, the walls open, crack, fracture, and the magma comes out. All it takes is some minor tectonic movement, and the magma moves inside. The walls have to hold, and at some point, they can't hold anymore.
Before the 1977 eruption, Harun Tazieff himself considered that Nyiragongo posed a limited threat. Today, it heads the list of the world's most dangerous volcanoes.
Back then, the volume of the lava lake was around 22 million square meters. And these 22 million square meters drained out in under an hour. 22 million square meters. And lava reached Gorma at 70 kilometers an hour. Between 2,000 and 3,000 deaths in Gorma. This whole area is pretty nasty. It's better to go around that fault on the other side. I prefer it. Hey, look, stop there for a minute. We're practically at a level with the fracture line of 1977 where the lava lake drained away. It's the same fracture line that was reactivated in 2002. It's possible that the next eruption will follow the same fault line. If it hasn't sealed over enough, the lava could come out of here again. If it happens, we'll see a range of small eruptions with fast lava flows that reach Gorma. Or if it's really patched up and solid, we'll have to wait until the level of the lava lake rises up inside the crater to 200, 250 meters under the ridges. It's the weight and volume that the crater seems able to support until the hydrostatic pressure of the magma fractures the existing crater again and opens up new faults. Then the lava lake will drain again, and we risk seeing another dramatic eruption, like the last ones where there were a lot of deaths.
Nuragongo is located on a fault line created by the shift between two tectonic plates. This is purely continental volcanic activity directly linked to the rise of magma caused by the parting of the tectonic plates.
As the plates move apart, a fault opens, and along that fault, magma rises and forms volcanoes. There have been major eruptions here over the last 40,000 years. These eruptions will continue. There'll probably be world-scale eruptions here still.
The question facing scientists is not if a cataclysmic eruption will occur, but rather when. Predicting the eruptions is a difficult task because the lake empties extremely quickly. In 1977 and 2002, with an interval of 25 years, the same nightmare scenario occurred. The plan is that the inhabitants should evacuate to the west of Goma, sufficiently far away from the vast Nuragongo volcanic plain.
Do you know what Nuragongo means? The place of the red fire. Because over a 50 or 60 kilometer radius around Nuragongo, everything is red. When I went down to set up the rope to the first terrace, the conditions were the same as now. I couldn't see a thing. I could hear the volcano. I could hear it throb. I thought it was extraordinary. I couldn't see a thing, but there was a sort of harmony, a symbiosis with the volcano. I felt good. I don't think many people understand that. I always feel like a bit of an idiot when I say that because people say, whatever, he talks to a volcano. The old guy's losing it.
The group will remember a huge crater, a king among volcanoes, that gently accepted their presence on its rim.
Last night, I don't know if you heard, but at times there were almost explosions, really intense activity.
Their exploration of the major African volcanoes continue. They leave the central part of the Great African Rift for its western part. Their new destination is northern Tanzania to discover the youngest volcano in this region, Old Doinyo Langai, lost and isolated at the far end of the African Rift, 99 miles from Kilimanjaro. Tanzania is the land of the Maasai, wild animals and volcanoes, a country that alone brings together some of the most beautiful images of Africa. Numerous volcanoes line the huge fracture line of the Great African Rift that started to open up 30 million years ago and that runs for a distance of 4,700 miles across Africa. The group has to drive for a whole day at the bottom of this huge trench to reach the foot of Langai. These white flows are in fact lava flows from the crater. This lava is unique, just like Langai, which is unlike any other volcano in the world.
Have you got everything? Got water? In the tents, sleeping bags, the gas masks? The porters are coming. Ol Donyo Lengai. It's the most extraordinary volcano on the planet. I won't tell you any more for now. It's unique. But we'll talk when we're at the summit. Let's go. There are not many people going up. We won't be bothered by tourists up at the summit.
Climbing Langai is considered to be especially difficult because of the height difference of more than 6,500 feet and its very steep slopes. It usually requires a 7-hour trek.
Grab a hold of the fracture. The fracture's holding up well. Wow! Only 8 meters to go. The ground is hot. Oh, come on. The mountain of the black god, Odonyo Lengai. 2,877 meters high. You feel it? It's colder here.
Before, it was necessary to descend about 300 feet to reach the bottom of the crater. But now, it's full to the brim with the cooled lava flows that have piled up on top of each other.
We'll see if there's any activity over there on the ridges. Up there, as soon as we get past the first ridges, be careful. They're dangerous fractures. You have to be really careful. We're nearly... Oh, listen. Can you hear? Can everyone hear that? I can hear it. Careful. At the top of the fracture, be very careful. The ground you're walking on is lava. It's not the lava you're used to seeing. Here, it's called natrocarbonatite. So what's natrocarbonatite? It's a magmatic limestone rich in calcium, rich in sodium, and rich in carbon. Imagine this lava flowing like water. See that lava? When it flows, it's black, very black. If it rains 3 hours later, it's as white as snow. If it doesn't rain, just with humidity from the air, it takes 3 or 4 days maximum. Just by the color, you can tell if the lava is 2 or 3 days old. It's the only volcano in the world that gives off that type of lava. Listen, listen.
There is blue smoke.
You hear that?
There is blue smoke that wasn't there earlier.
Did you hear that? The explosion of the lava. There's lava behind there for sure. At least you can feel the volcano is alive here. It's impressive because you can't see, but you can hear. That lava's recent. It's 2, 3 days old. Leave space between you. Those ejections are very recent, and there's activity back there. Leave space between you.
The lava is about 25 feet below them, but they can't see it. They're walking on a dome, shaken by the churning magma below.
It's really dangerous here. It's over there. I can see it. You know, we're really lucky because there hasn't been any activity here for 4 months. 4 days ago, a pilot told us he'd seen activity, and look. Did you see that? Wow! It's extraordinary. It's fantastic.
They've seen the lava, but the coming night prevents Guy from checking on its outflows and the fragility of the terrain. Lengai, a very young volcano, is the only active one in the whole region, unique and unpredictable. It's an enigma for the world's volcanologists.
On the planet's surface, there are hardly any natural carbonatites. It's the only active volcano that spews natural carbonatites. There are others, old volcanoes, that are not active anymore. The only thing these few volcanoes that emit natural carbonatites have in common is that they're all near an open rift area. But the origin of this incredible lava is unknown. For the moment, there are different theories, but nobody really agrees. Where we are, anything can happen. The last time I came here, in this volcano, this collapsed area didn't exist. There were hornitos, but the floor was flat here. This whole area in 1, 2, 3 months, maybe a year, will probably collapse. The crater will collapse again. There may be an explosive phase that empties out the crater, like in 1960, when there was a violent explosive phase and a crater 100 meters deep, or just successive collapses. And where we are here has a definite possibility of going down.
The whole of this collapsed crater corresponds to the top of the volcano's eruptive shaft, and 37 miles below lies the reservoir of magma.
Just below us, there's a small overhanging lava lake. There's another crevice of 10 or 12 meters. And the level of the lake is here. We can hear it. Can you hear it? Listen. Don't go any closer, because it's really dangerous. Everything's ready to fall apart. It's all overhang.
The first expedition to Langai was led by Maurice and Katia Kraft in 1988, but the volcano is not really the object of much study, too unique, too isolated. Certainly an atypical volcano, its extremely fluid lava has nonetheless produced flows up to 20 feet thick. It gives off 3 times more carbon dioxide than other volcanoes. It has highly explosive periods with ash plumes stretched up to 75 miles. Its crater now fills with lava and regularly collapses.
Hornitos don't last long. You saw a hornito form this morning. It's the ejection of all these lava particles building up on each other that form this little cone, with the lava continuing to come out of the center of the hornito. And it builds up tens of meters. We can't call it a mini-volcano because it's not an eruptive engine in itself, but it's the same starting point, if you like. Look at that hornito. It may wake up tonight, tomorrow, or any time. See, its pipe is ready. Here, at a few hours interval, activity changes really fast. Look at how beautiful these stalactites are. See how long they are? Some of them are over 2 meters. When they form, there are two possibilities. Either the lava lake was high enough, or there were ejections and waves on the surface that touched the roof of this cavity. The lava solidified as it dropped. Or else it's a lava flow that came from the hornito opposite, that came on top, and all the little cracks let the lava infiltrate, and it dripped from above. It's so fluid, it's like water, so the slightest crack, the slightest hole, and it immediately infiltrates and falls. So drop after drop, it forms that stalactite.
Guy wants to move around the edge of the active area to get closer to a hornito that's forming. He moves cautiously in this crater that's experiencing renewed activity and changes every minute.
This whole area is overhanging. Watch out, it's very unstable. It's going to fall. Okay, listen, we're not going to spend too long here. Let's go.
The group takes shelter, while Guy sets off alone on a path that he's found to reach the hornito that's forming, and that lies in the most dangerous part of the active area.
Wow. That looked like it was overhanging. It's only fallen blocks. I would have liked to go over to that hornito, go down onto the floor, but unfortunately it's too risky because nothing is stable. It's only fallen blocks, and underneath it's hollow. Here we're practically in the center of the crater, in the collapse area. We've almost reached the lowest point in the collapse area. And now it's cracking. We heard the crack. It's probably a plate that's given way. The lava is underneath. It's 10 or 15 meters below the average level of the ridges. I would have liked to have gone down onto the floor. My approach to volcanoes has been maybe more sensual than scientific. It's obvious. But if I could live my life over again, I'd do things exactly the same way. I wouldn't want to tie myself to an observatory. What I enjoy is visiting volcanoes all over the world. And as soon as I get to a volcano, I feel like I've come home. So I have lots of little homes all over the world.
At the foot of Langai, Lake Natron, a huge reservoir of caustic water, is home to half of the world's pink flamingo population. The group leaves Africa, a land of contrast and paradox. Here, the beauty and the magic of the setting skillfully mask the dangers of a land undergoing perpetual evolution.